Subscribe for daily boxing videos, guys. Can we stop? Can we honestly stop comparing 20-year-old Daniel Dubois? I know I butchered his last name. I get it. You guys are going to tell me I did it. I butchered it, but you know what? That's just the way I pronounce it. But can we stop comparing 20-year-old Daniel Dubois to Anthony Joshua currently? Because that's something that I seem to notice when it comes to particularly British boxing fans. Every time Daniel Dubois fights somebody and knocks him out, you know, you look at the comments on social media, on YouTube, and there's always a bunch of, like I said, particularly British boxing fans, because the majority of boxing fans who know about Daniel Dubois, the prospect, are mostly British boxing fans. Unless you're a hardcore, boxing fan, you know about him. But the majority of boxing fans who know who he is are British boxing fans, and they seem to be the ones who are criticizing him the most, if you get what I'm saying. Because every time he fights someone, they always compare him to Anthony Joshua, as if he is in the level of Anthony Joshua right now. Just the other weekend, Daniel Dubois beat D.L. Jones, I believe. I believe it's the guy by the name of D.L. Jones. He was an undefeated guy. It took him 3 rounds or something to get rid of him. D.L. Jones was a kind of an awkward type of fighter. He was a big heavyweight. He was in his face. But you read the comments section and you see people saying, man, you know, if that was Anthony Joshua in there, he would have just destroyed D.L. Jones in 30 seconds. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Of course he would have destroyed him. Why are you comparing a 20-year-old Daniel Dubois to a 28-year-old, 29-year-old professional like Anthony Joshua? We have to keep in mind that right now, Daniel Dubois, of course he's going to be making mistakes. He is, in terms of maturity, in terms of boxing experience, he is nowhere near somebody like Anthony Joshua. When Anthony Joshua turned professional in 2013, I believe it was, or was it 2014? I believe it was late 2013. Anthony Joshua was 24, 25 when he turned professional. So Anthony Joshua had more maturity and had more boxing experience in terms of amateur experience when he turned pro 5 years ago than Daniel Dubois has right now. You know what I'm saying? So Anthony Joshua, people are comparing Anthony Joshua right now with 20 fights, fighting guys like, you know, Joseph Parker, Vladimir Klitschko, being a unified champion. They're comparing this version to the current Daniel Dubois. But what they need to realize is Anthony Joshua, back when he turned professional, back in 2013, back then he had more experience back then than Daniel Dubois has right now. We have to keep in mind that Daniel Dubois is a 20-year-old fighter. He's 20 years old. What was Anthony Joshua doing at 20 years old? You want to know what Anthony Joshua was doing at 20 years old? He was getting knocked out in the amateurs against Dillian Whyte. Back in 2009, Anthony Joshua was Daniel Dubois' age, right? He was 20 years old back in 2009. Back then, he was getting knocked out by guys like Dillian Whyte. You know why? Because he didn't have the experience. You know, at that time, he was only fighting for like, what, 2 years? You get what I'm saying? So right now, of course, you're going to see Daniel Dubois making mistakes. Of course, you're going to see him, you know, look amateurish or maybe not look at the best, because right now he's in the level of, let's just compare him to Anthony Joshua. He is right now in the level of where Anthony Joshua was back in 2009. There's something called improvement, right? As you get older, because I keep seeing people saying, oh, look, he hasn't been improving. Oh, he hasn't been improving. I keep seeing that from these UK boxing fans, from you guys. Oh, he hasn't been improving. You know, Nathan Gorman, he's doing better. He's more and improving better than Daniel Dubois. Yeah, look at Anthony Joshua. Back in 2009, when Anthony Joshua was getting destroyed by Dillian Whyte, I'm pretty sure back then you guys would have thought to yourself, man, this guy's going to go nowhere. He hasn't improved in the past 2 years since he's been in the amateurs. But look at him. He went on to win gold. He went on to become a champion. And he's clearly a lot better now than he was back then, or back even when he first turned pro in 2013, right? So I think people need to like stop comparing a 28-year-old professional who's been a professional for 5 years, who's had over 10 years of boxing experience, who's been to the Olympics. I think you guys need to stop comparing him to a guy who's learning right now, because Danny Dubois is learning right now. He's 20 years old. He's not in terms of experience, in terms of learning. These fights are gonna help him. And I even see people saying, "Oh, he's fighting bums." Yeah, no shit. He has less than 10 fights. You start complaining about a guy fighting bums when he's Deontay Wilder. When he's Deontay Wilder and he got 39 professional fights. That's when you, and he's still fighting guys with like, you know, let's say he's fighting guys with like 10 losses in their records. That's when you start complaining. That's when you start bitching and moaning that why is this guy, you know, and especially when he starts defending his belts against guys that you never heard of. You know what I'm saying? That's when you start complaining. But for people to be saying that this guy, you know, is a hype job, he's overrated, you know, he's not that good. Comparing him to Anthony Joshua is ridiculous because, like I said, right now, where was Anthony Joshua when he was Daniel Dubois' age? He was getting knocked out in the amateurs. 9 years ago, Anthony Joshua was getting knocked out in the amateurs, but he was still learning. You know, again, when Anthony Joshua had more experience when he turned pro than Daniel Dubois has right now, because Anthony Joshua was 4 years older, 4 or 5 years older than Daniel Dubois was when he turned pro. Daniel Dubois turned pro when he was, what, 18? A year? Yeah, 18, 19? While Anthony Joshua was already, you know, had won, was in the Olympics, had won gold in the Olympics, and he was a 24. So like I said, he was more developed when he first turned professional back in 2013. As a fighter, he was more developed even back then than someone like Danny Dubois is right now. So again, I think it's very dumb for people to be comparing Anthony Joshua and Danny Dubois as if Danny Dubois has been a professional for 5 years, as if he's a veteran, you know, as if he has all this experience, as if they're the same age. Again, he's a 20-year-old kid. He's been fighting for a couple of months, maybe a year, 6 months. Again, we have to keep in mind the experience gap. I don't think people should rush, and especially I think it's ridiculous when people start saying, you know, comparing his resumes. Oh, look, this guy doesn't have the best resume. He's been fighting bums. Yeah, no shit. Anthony Yardy has been fighting bums too. You know what I'm saying? No shit. But again, when it comes to someone like Dubois and someone like Yardy, I think Dubois, it's more like it's more understandable for Dubois because, like I said, he has less than 10 fights. Anthony Yardy has like what, almost 15 fights now, and he's still fighting guys very low level. So again, I just think it's ridiculous. Let this kid continue to progress in his career. Let's see what happens. I think it's very dumb to just jump the gun and say, well, this guy's overrated when he's a 20-year-old with seven pro fights. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say. If you watched the videos from start to finish, as always, I appreciate it. And McGregor's out. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.